In December 2021, an app was released for live looping on an iPad. Yes, Loopy Pro. The topic has not changed. And there's a very good reason for that. It is because Loopy Pro totally changed the game, and it totally changed my life. I have been 9 years into this, trying to design my perfect portable, battery-powered, versatile looping rig that would do all the things I wanted to do. And when Loopy Pro came out, a lot of obstacles that just had me stuck that I just couldn't even get past. It just melted away. There was one piece of unfinished business that I was really hoping to figure out. And I am very excited because this week, I got a free Bluetooth Midi controller, and this option is perfect for me, and it might be for you. So can't wait to tell you all about it. I found out about Loopy Pro the way a lot of people did, with that beautiful video from drawbacks. I didn't know about it the very first day it came out. Wasn't checking my email, I guess, but a couple of days later, I found out that Loopy Pro had at long last finally been released to the world. And in that video, where many of us are introduced to it, we also see this beautiful thing, APC 40 Mark II. I didn't even finish watching the video. I mean, I went back and finished watching the video, but like right in the middle of the video, I just hopped out onto the internet and looked up the price on that thing, because it was like, what? Until I saw the price tag, which I must say seems very fairly priced compared to other controllers and what they can do. I mean, it seems like it's a good value for the money compared to what controllers cost, but that thing is not in my budget, and it's not about to be in my budget anytime soon. When I downloaded and bought Loopy Pro and started learning it, and it had a lot of things to learn, a lot of new features all over the place, and really the whole controller, wanting a controller to control it, sort of went to the back of my mind. And Loopy Pro is very usable without a controller. You don't need a controller to control it. It's fine. But as the Loopy Pro community's been developing, and we're comparing notes and seeing what other people are doing, and you do kind of feel like, yeah, it would be nice to have, you know, some kind of foot controller. Maybe I get a foot controller with the 4 little buttons that you can tap with your feet, and you know, that would start and stop a couple loops or something. But it just seemed like, first of all, that wasn't especially cheap either, and then it seemed like it would be woefully inadequate. Like, you know, you just have 4 button controller and you paid a lot of money. I was like, yeah, maybe just keep waiting. Me personally, I very much wanted a Bluetooth controller, because Loopy Pro, let me tell you, Loopy Pro has let me climb out from under a whole lot of wires. There's so minimal amount of wires involved in my looping rig anymore, and so I was hoping for something kind of wireless. And as the Loopy Pro community's been developing, all of a sudden there started to appear these pictures of people that are making a MIDI controller out of a video game controller, and I'm like, oh, see, now that's an option. And I looked up the price of video game controllers, and you can get one for like less than $20. So now I'm like, that is a solid maybe. I mean, that I could do, and it has more than 4 buttons. It has a bunch of buttons usually on a wireless Bluetooth controller. But just one of those pictures of the wireless video game controller just popped the idea into my mind. I had an epiphany suddenly, and I was like, wait a minute. Now, in the before times, before Loopy Pro came out, when I was using Loopy HD and 3 iPads, I had meticulously made sure that my iPads never updated beyond iOS 11, which is, there was an operating system, just long story short, there's an operating system called iOS that runs all the iPads, and there was a version 11 where they were like, okay, everything after version 11 is going to have to be reprogrammed new, and I had made a lot of sounds and spent a lot of time, put a lot of hours in making sounds on the apps that were before iOS 11, and I wasn't really interested in updating, and so I had like some iPads laying around that had the old software on it, and the thought occurred to me, what if one of those could be a Loopy Pro controller? So I started experimenting. And at first I was having a lot of trouble figuring out how I could even get the iPads to talk to each other. But our old friend from Live Loopers video 23 way back in the days, Midi, this guy, has 4 tabs, and the second tab says advertise. And once you press that and advertise your iPad's existence, then the other nearby iPads can just pick them up and you can make a Bluetooth connection. Once I got the iDevices talking to each other, I just started having success after success. Even my old iPads that I religiously kept from ever updating beyond iOS 11 that were part of my old rig, still able to find a MIDI app. Found a MIDI app called Ceramic B, and made a MIDI controller that controlled Loopy Pro. It worked. That got me very excited to see if I could get a MIDI controller working on an iPhone, because an iPhone is smaller. And I had an iPhone laying around that I had picked up super cheap, just an old iPhone 6 that I really just picked up to supply battery power to my old mixer. Just who cares? Point being, I just had an iPhone laying around and I was able to create this beautiful, wonderful awesomeness. This worked out so well, I just mounted it to a ground stake and just mounted that to my rig. And now the things that I can do with this thing. I can switch through screen A, B, and C. I mean, that's already available, but I mean, now being able to do it with either hand on either side of my rig is just super helpful. And the best part, the best awesome thing is that the one thing I always had to flip back and forth through screens and flip back to my screen B, because that's the screen where I have my different instrument buttons, where I can turn on and off different instrument voices just with the press of a button. I'm just getting over how much I love that. And now I have that constantly, continually available. Like, no matter what screen I'm on over here, I can be turning instruments on and off over here. Are you kidding me? So helpful. And yeah, this is, perfectly configured to my needs, my own personal, the way I have my workflow set up. But this is Loopy Pro. Like, the perfect controller for Loopy Pro is Loopy Pro. And since it is Loopy Pro, you can configure it exactly the way you want it. I mean, whatever buttons you need, you put them on there. So what are the drawbacks? There are a couple drawbacks. First of all, if you don't happen to have an extra iDevice just laying around, then clearly it's not free. I mean, this was free because I just already had one. But, I mean, you can go on to Craigslist and get yourself an iPhone 6 exactly like this one for like less than $80. Just saying, in terms of value, it is like way less expensive and way more configurable than a lot of the other options I was seeing. Then also, if your need to have a MIDI controller is so that you can do it hands-free, you're probably still going to need a foot controller. And if you saw that DoubleFX video where he's saying,
personally on stage, I would never trust my fingers touching the iPad. I think that, with sweat, we all know what it's like playing with a phone in the rain. It just doesn't work properly. So you just sweaty fingers. It's best not to do that. You need a controller.
I've never found that sweaty fingers thing to be a thing for me personally, but please try your level best to not be playing a show with your electronic devices in the rain if there's any way to not do that. One thing that I do find when I'm doing live shows, if I'm ever trying to do a show outside, there is a lot of screen glare, and this is not any less prone to screen glare. I mean, you just have a screen glare over here and a screen glare over here. Except, I think that I can just pop this out and like hold it at a different angle from the sun and work it a lot. Yeah, I think actually this is an improvement. Yeah, I think I could even avoid accidental touches. I think this would, yeah. Actually, I think this would work. So, my Loop friends, this is the perfect solution for me. And maybe some of what I've discovered can help you in some way. I definitely hope it can. I would love to hear in the comments below what kind of controller solution you are using if you are using Loopy Pro. I'm guessing you might be because you clicked on this video. But definitely tell me what are you using, how is it working, and do you think this might be able to help you at all? Because I would love to make contact with some folks who are helped by this idea, because this idea is seriously helping me. My name is Alex. This is Live Loopers. Loop on! Loop on! Loop on!